I believe that when science and art combined, they can bring change. Because then you combine the facts and the emotion. And that's the moment that change is ignited. So for me, as an artist, it's important to work together with these scientists, take their scientific facts and make them resonate into culture. Because that's the only way that we can move forward. At the Woven Studio, we work together with UNESCO, with ESA, with Stefano Mancuso, with different types of scientists. In the artworks that I make with my team, we figure out what is the key insight together with these scientists. And when we find it, we find the databases and the data that it's based on. And we distill it. And most of the time, the works that we create are controlled by that data. So they visualize what's going on. For example, a work that we did together with UNESCO, where we talk about deforestation that's happening. Now, every leaf there you can see disappearing. It marks the loss of 150 square meters of rainforest. So you can see it flickering on and off. And that is real-time data coming from the Amazon basin. So you see how much deforestation is happening there in real time. So in this way, we weave together art and science in real time for people to resonate, to see the sheer loss that's going on. And I think that's something that we're teaching here at Villar Institute, is where we learn how to communicate, how to find the emotion in the fact, and how to amplify that, finding iconic shapes that represent the issues that are going on. I love it when art and science combined, they can make us feel the facts. And in that sense, it's a core collaboration, because together they're really powerful, because they can make it personal, understandable, and relatable.
We've created this tool called Earth Time, which is a collaboration between us and Villar Institute. And this tool actually allows us to take more than 3,000 layers of information about the world: trade flows, arms trades, urban fragility, deforestation, cropland increase and decrease around the world. By creating visualizations that actually combine all those data layers in one place for the first time, we're able to tell intersectional stories about how water rights, cropland, agricultural use, biodiversity influence one another. It's about the power and color of stories that are cross-sectional and interdisciplinary. As students create interactive space-time explorations, that interactive piece can be shared as a URL online, but you can also syndicate it out as a fixed video that you can easily put on any social media, and you can syndicate it out as any resolution, any aspect ratio images. The goal we have is that we move from a society where the marketplace of climate narratives are created by the few and digested by the many. The challenge of climate change is always felt most strongly by those who have the smallest voice and are most marginalized in the social capitalist structures that we've created. So the trick is, how do we use technology in innovative ways to empower those who are marginalized?
I think music connects everyone in such a deep, deep level that it brings them all back to their inner child. I think that's why I had to dedicate this album to my grandparents, is because I got on with them more than some people that were my own age when I grew up. Music is for the spirit, and the spirit doesn't age. Well, thank you to the Villar Institute for bringing me out here. I feel very lucky to be able to walk amongst these mountains and to be in Switzerland. While here, I've realized how important our environment is to our inner experience as well. Just the quality of air, you know, the quality of the water. These little things have a knock-on effect to communities. Having enough snow to ski, you know. Nature's really important to feed creativity. And it makes me realize that everything I do has an effect on the community around me.
I think it's the most unifying experience. Like, it's primal. It's the same reason like babies will just start dancing. They don't know where it comes from, they just do it. It's the most unifying experience, like when you go to like a family party and I don't know, you play a random song and everybody just starts getting up, but I don't know what it is. I think it's just evolutionary. There's something like inside that makes people want to move and want to connect with music. I feel like the most current one would probably be like Adele. Like Adele's the kind of artist that you can buy a CD for your mum, but you can also like, I don't know, be driving down the motorway and there's teenagers like singing it in the car as well. She's quite, I think because she sings about really universal things and her voice is just unbelievable. So yeah, she's probably the biggest example of that for sure. She sold a lot of albums. I'm from Scotland and like there's like we have a lot of like amazing, a lot like Switzerland, like mountains and lochs and stuff like that. I feel like people need to experience that at least once in their life, like going to like Loch Lomond and seeing how, or Glencoe, and seeing the vastness of that. And I feel like it takes going to a place like that to really see what people are ruining by, I don't know, setting the planet on fire.
So Studio Silverback, we're trying to tell the most amazing, compelling stories about humanity's relationship with nature and the impacts we have on it and how the world can hopefully be a better place in the future.
Well, I think everyone loves nature documentaries. I mean, we get the same sorts of audiences as the big dramas. There's a fascination that everyone has in the wild, and also the sort of material that you see on there is almost the natural world as it could have been 10,000 years ago. And it's probably time for us to start talking about nature as it is now because it's under threat. So we are part of the natural history genre, but we're moving it on a little bit and becoming more relevant to today's story.
Yes, so the idea behind Open Planet is that we want to democratise the most incredible content of the changing world during this decade where we really have to communicate as much as possible. We want everybody, no matter how much money or access they have, to be able to get the best footage, be able to use it for free for non-profit purposes, and be able to make whatever content they want to their audiences in their language, telling about their realities and what they face. And I think that has to be everybody's story to everyone, not just any one organisation communicating it.
Everything has a trajectory, not just individuals, but populations, species, habitats, ecosystems. They're all operating out there. There's a drama going on. So yeah, you can pick your dramatic line and tell that story.
And sometimes that means you're really blending the number of times you can give quite serious information, you blending how much you want to leave people feeling hopeful or concerned, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And always, if you want to keep people engaged, you've got to find ways of entertaining them. And luckily, I mean, the palette we have to work with is an amazing, diverse planet and incredible people on it. So we always try and make sure we give revelations, stories and character that entertains people as well as informs.
What we've got to start doing is telling ourselves a different story about ourselves and our planet. Because certainly, since anyone can remember, we've been trying to tame the wild. We have to completely realign ourselves. We have to understand that actually what we can do is thrive and have better lives if we align more with nature. And that's the path forward.
Obviously, we're in a climate crisis at the moment. We all know that. And I think for me, being a saxophone player and being very connected to my breath, the thing I'm thinking of is clean, fresh air. Again, I'm from London, so like coming up here to the mountains, and you can just like breathe so much more than you can when you're on the South Circular, like in the big roads. So if I could preserve something, it would be that quality of air. I think that music is ancient, and like the first instruments I believe were made from bones, like bone flutes. And so when we think about like intergenerational, we think about generations, you know, so many years ago, and it being literally in our bones, like and it's a way of communing, and yeah, I think it is kind of timeless as well. I think the artist embodies that for me is Bjork, most of all. I think for many people, because like of the kind of span of her career and how she's evolved and how she continues to evolve, and how she kind of blends the science and the spiritual and the kind of technicality of her work. I just think is phenomenal.
When I was a kid, I was going to my grandparents' house in the countryside, and I had the luck to go on walks with my grandfather, and we were really spending a lot of time observing wildlife and get really close to it. And that's something that really affected me and the person I am today. I think maybe to understand nature or how things work, cycles, something about empathy also with wildlife. So I hope that future generations will have the opportunity to be close to wildlife. That's something that I really hope for.
Hi, I'm Doug Gurr. I'm the director of the Natural History Museum in London. Well, so our mission is very much to help create advocates for the planet. And what that means is we're trying to inspire people at scale to care a bit about nature and to care enough to want to do something about it. So people probably know us as a visitor attraction, and we love that. What people probably don't know is we're also a large scientific research institute, really focused around questions about biodiversity. What is it? How do we fix it? How do we solve the problems? And one particular focus of our teams right now is that really hard and important question about how do you measure it? How do you measure it in such a way that it's simple, that it's actionable, so we can actually all get behind it and make a difference? And our model, and I think what we see our role, is how do we bring a trusted, impartial voice that can bring data, that can bring science, that can bring insight, first of all to empower people to care about this, to want to do something. And we know if we get enough people excited, then we can talk to companies. You can eventually get governments excited to do some of the things that we know only governments can do.
The process of music is really an intimate process, and it's something, when I began writing music, I understood that with music you can't lie. And so I think that it reaches people in places that you can find at the age of 6 years old or 80 years old. I think that music is such a personal medium.
I live in Florida, which currently, as climate change is going, I don't know how much longer my home is gonna be around because of the sea levels. Throughout my career, I've gotten to do a lot of different kind of music. I started with classical. Eventually, I trained and started doing jazz music. And as I grew up and I played a lot of this kind of music, I attracted a very different audience than I do now. But back then, a lot of, even though it was an older audience, a lot of the people that came to my shows or my performances would bring their kids or their grandkids. And even though it's not the kind of music that their grandkids or their kids might enjoy, they still stuck around and listened. And now what I see in the music that I make now, I see a lot of the kids bringing their parents or their grandparents. And for me, the biggest thing in doing what I do now and the type of music that I make now is to always keep my roots of where I came from in music, which is classical and jazz music, and bring it to today's generation. And so seeing that and seeing how, music evolves with people and people evolve with music is such a beautiful thing. And I think that regardless of what type of music you listen to, or I think it transcends language. I think it transcends even some things that we understand as humans. The brain, it's unbelievable what it can do. And it brings more than just ages, families together. It brings people from all over the world. And I think that's what this festival is so special, because I walk around and I see people here literally from all over the world. I think that it has to be either Prince or the Beatles. Those are my two picks. Because Prince, I think, was someone who could pick up really any instrument and just make something unbelievable from it. And the Beatles, I think their songwriting is something that even now we still look back on and just in awe.